Hello and welcome, it's your boy LOZA. We're back. The Dark Magician's engine and core chat/video is back on once again. This is part 3. If you haven't checked out part 1 and 2, please go check them out right now. And if you are a returning gamer who hasn't subscribed yet, hit that MF subscribe button. Come on, it helps me out, makes me want to make more videos, motivates me to make you good content. So, without further ado, let's get right on into today. Now, when we're talking about the DM core and engines, we're talking about engines that can either spice up the deck or make it competitively viable. Doing both of those things can be very hard, right? That's why like Dogma engine's a good staple because nothing in it's really a brick. They're all pretty much starters or just decent cards to open. Whereas other engines, for example, we're going to get into the Buster Blader engine later at some point. It's very bricky, but very fun. So we've got like two sides of the same coin here. We're trying to use stuff that's good, irrelevant to the deck, but still gives the deck some sort of unique boost or consistency. So one of the engines I want to talk about today actually boosts Dark Magician a whole lot in terms of competitiveness. You guys might not like it though. Anyway, let's go down into it right now. Alright, the next engine we're going to talk about is Mystic Mine, which might seem like a bit of a troll engine, maybe one you're not really familiar with or don't really want to play because you're like, ew, Mystic Mine, but you got to look at the facts, and the facts are a YCS was recently won by an Australian player who was playing Sky Striker Mystic Mine, so that's pretty damn cool, and we do find out that Mystic Mine is kind of broken. In a deck that's slow, and I think Sky Strikers are rather slow, I think they're a better deck than DM, but I think they're slow as well, and they're kind of very spell-based. So I think kind of take a note out of their book, and we grab the Mystic Mine package, which will be triple mine, demise of the land, with Metaverse, set rotation. You don't have to play, these are kind of optional. I'd say you have to play the Metaverse, demise, and the mines, and then you already got Terra Salvation, and you could probably cut down on villages, maybe to one village or something. But set rotation is completely up to you, and the bond package is up to you. But I'll show you why I think you should play the bond package, and I'll show you some Dark Magician Mystic Mine interactions that actually make it kind of good in our deck. Just opening Mystic Mine with your normal summon and no Demise of the Land, no Metaverse, like nothing to activate it on the opponent's turn, and you're like, well, what the fuck do I do? Here's what you do. You're going to normal your Rod. You do need this to resolve, or you at least need to have a spell trap that's a quick play, or just, you know, a regular trap. So in this case, I'm just going to go for Soul Servant because, you know, it serves perfect purpose here. We're going to set it. I mean, you'd probably do it later, but it doesn't really matter. You're going to want to make Artemis as well. Another reason why Artemis is super good. Activate your mind. You've got a monster on the field. Fantastic. You can pass turn. No questions asked. The opponent, however, obviously can now normal summon their card. They will get this one effect, okay? From here on out, they will get this first effect, but you need to chain Soul Servant to this. They'll get their effect. Fantastic. We're probably going to chain. I guess we're going for the long game here. So Magician Souls isn't even that good. But it doesn't really matter what you stack. So let's just put Circle on top. Who cares? And these guys, you know what? They're going to go ahead and they're going to search Salvation because they've drawn DM. So what happens now is you're going to activate good old Rod effect and get rid of the Artemis to grab Rod back to hand. Congratulations! Now your opponent is playing under Mystic Mine and you were able to use Mystic Mine going first. That's something that the Mystic Mine deck can't do without the use of Field Barrier. So I think that's pretty cool that our in-archetype Rod kind of gives us a way to play around Mine, considering we play Illusion of Chaos and Preps and stuff. Like seeing Rod with Mine turn 1, pretty common occurrence, I want to say. So good play to keep in mind if you're going to play this build. Alright, so for this next one, it's more about your opponent's got an established board and you've Mystic Mined them, but you still want to use your Rod and Souls and do stuff. So here's how you would do that, right? First, you're going to want to activate Circle just because this hand has it. You may as well activate it. Sure, we're going to add a DM off that. That's fine. That part is irrelevant. We just need to get Circle on the actual field. So you're going to still normal your Rod like you would. And remember, you're under Mine, so they can't activate too much. You can still go for spells and traps and imperms and whatnot, but you know, you're pretty good. Now, when you are ready to finish them off, you do search the bond between teacher and student. So I'm going to search that now, though that's not really the example I'm going for here. Alright, we are going to send and summon Dark Magician. Dark Magician is summoned. You get to activate the circle effect, so it's going to go for this card. They'll probably chain it. It doesn't really matter. We're just using the other Dark Magician deck as an example, so it literally doesn't matter here. Now, here's the part where it gets interesting. We have two monsters on field. Now the opponent does too. They can actually use monster effects again. We didn't get everything we wanted. Let's say we got hand trapped or we just didn't find what we wanted, right? We didn't quite get to OTK here. Obviously, the bonds package gives us pretty much OTK, but let's just say we need a couple more turns to stall, but we wanted to see if the opponent had interruptions and, you know, circle and summoning DM. We wanted to see what we could trigger. Cool, we got rid of their back row. So now here's what you do to pass the turn back. You're going to link these 2 dark monsters into Beat Cop. Beat Cop says, link summon this card with 2 monsters, but if you use 2 dark monsters with different names as material, it gains this effect. And you're going to activate that effect. Tribute to herself, or one monster, but you're going to use herself, and target a face-up card on the field, place a patrol counter on it. So let's go with Mystic Mine. The patrol counter protects Mystic Mine if it were to ever be destroyed by battle or card effect. I mean, battle, but hey, that's what the patrol counter says. So that's really interesting because we're just doing it to get our monsters off the field, but we get the bonus effect of protecting Mystic Mine. Now don't forget, you could also do Beat Cop stuff on Eternal Soul, and that's a pretty good idea as well. Now of course you can still get shuffled by Nightmare Unicorn. That sucks, but what can you do? Nightmare Unicorn's going to play around that. Of course if you got Mystic Mine up, well, they're not activating no Nightmare Unicorn. So I really like this because you can just keep stalling while pretending that you're making plays. Now you might think that that's stupid, but you do need to force your opponent's interruptions, and they will have something in the form of Spell Trap. So it's nice to be able to use like Rotten Souls, do some summoning, see what the opponent's responses are, see where they'll go, and then kind of just go, no, we're going back to mine. Beat Cop and back to mine stall. It's pretty cancerous, I gotta say, but we don't have Anaconda. I think Mystic Mine is a great alternative. So I think I was a bit wrong about needing the Bond package. I did a bit of testing, and the fact that Bond package sets Dark Burning Magic means you can't flip it that turn, so it's hard to go for OTK that turn, if that makes sense, because you kind of need to have both of these in your hand, and you need to summon DM and DMG. It's so awkward. So what I'm saying is it might be more viable to play, instead of Dark Burning Magic, just play Dark Magic Attack and Dark Burning Attack. That might be more relevant, but even more bricks, so I don't know. All I'm saying is Mystic Mine DM is actually pretty good. We have some nice interactions. I'm just trying to find a way to finish the job once we've done all this stalling. I think Red Eye's Fusion might be the play, but you could also just do Secrets to Maya stuff to get the Dragoon. I know it only has 1 pop then, but it might be worth it. It might be worth it. I gotta work out an OTK for this now. I've got the way to stall, I've got the structure around the mine plays, and obviously going second mine can just bait a bunch of negates and then you can set up board. Just like, how do we OTK after establishing mine for a bunch of turns? There's gotta be a DM OTK, and I thought it would be through bonds, but it's not really working out. Maybe we've got to lab this a bit more, so let me know down in the comments what you think could help us finish the job. Alright, I think I've kind of solved it. So let's say you've been stolen on mine for a while, but then you're like, it's time for game. Well, you're going to go Magician Souls, and you do need to be playing Dark Magician Goal, or this just won't work. So unfortunately, for those who don't want to play the second brick, you gotta play it. In this case, I don't think it's the biggest deal, but it does result in a little more bricking, you know. That's just how it be. And the cool thing is, it doesn't necessarily have to use your normal summon. You could also use a Ready Fusion package, because you could summon a level 6 vanilla fusion monster thanks to Ready Fusion. But we're going to use the in-archetype stuff, which is Magician Souls and Apprentice Illusion Magician going to Naruto. And the reason for Naruto is, now in this example there's no spell traps back here, but Naruto is a quick effect. When your opponent activates a spell trap, detach material, negate the activation and destroy it. So you can go to the battle phase and just hit something. In this case, it doesn't really matter. Now, Naruto doesn't have battle protection, so you're going to really need to hope that your 2700 attack is enough to just wipe something out. Or you really don't want to kill it, so hopefully they have something in defense mode that's bigger defense than you are attack, and you can just smack into it and take a little bit of damage. In the main phase 2, you're going to be able to rank up into Eborn Illusion Magician, and then from there you can go ahead and rank up into Zeus. And it is my recommendation that you don't actually use the Zeus yet until the opponent's end of turn. So we're going to pass the turn there, and yes, this kind of plays into, if they have like a set imperm, it could play into that, but remember you've got 4 material Zeus. So the opponent can, from here, obviously go into like a Link 2 to try to force you to activate the Zeus, in which case you would probably just have to activate the Zeus. If this effect threatened the Zeus or your mind, you would have to do something. In this case, it doesn't, so we're going to go to the end phase, right? And that's what you want anyway. So if the opponent skips to the end phase for mind to kill itself, you've got what you wanted anyway. So yeah, we're going to have 2 effects that need to go, or can go off here. Mind checking itself and realizing it's going to die, and so is Zeus. So you just win either way. Like, you force your opponent to just match how many monsters you have and pass turn, or you Zeus their whole board. Either way, it's kind of a win-win. You can also just insta-Zeus. Don't get me wrong. You can insta-Zeus all you like. But here's the cool thing. You can go detach 2 materials, wipe the field. If they flip an imperm... Look, if they have a Solemn Strike, obviously you're screwed. But if they don't have a counter trap to their response, you know, you can just do it again. So you do have that double opportunity there. Wipe the field, and then it's your turn. The opponent will discard for turn. You draw for turn. You can see that this hand is capable of OTK, plus it's got a 3k Zeus. So this might be the way to play mine with DM. You could also try using Regeki, Duster, and back row removal kind of base cards in this deck and just kind of wait till you have enough of them to wipe the field and then go for game. But do remember you need to draw that Salvation just to set it, or another copy of Mystic Mine or Village, just to set it in the field zone to turn off your Mystic Mine. And that is going to conclude the section on Mystic Mine within this video. We might talk about Mystic Mine later down the line. I do think it's a viable engine. I just think it's a little bit boring. But hey, if you win, it's not that boring now, is it? But it also loses to the same things our deck loses to. It loses to back row removal. DM normally loses to back row removal, so it's kind of like the same thing, you know? We're just putting in an engine that also we're putting in an engine with the same weaknesses that our deck already has, kind of thing, so I don't know, go figure. Let's move on to the next engine. This next engine's a little strange because it's more just hand traps than an engine. But hand traps are never a bad thing to play. I know some people seem to hate them. I'm not really sure why. If you look at most deck lists at top, they're playing hand traps and normally multiples of them. The only problems hand traps have in Dark Magician is not doing enough, because most of the decks that play hand traps or play an excessive amount, like 9 to 12 hand traps, they normally have a lot of one-card starters, and as we know, DM struggles to be a one-card starter deck. We really do need that Link 1 to make Rod a one-card starter, right? It'd be nice if Rod could search Circle, and then our Link 1 could search another DM card, or like send DM to Grave, and then we could kind of fulfill the rest of the DM triangle or something like that. But anyway, let's talk about the hand traps we are playing for this engine, and it is going to be Ghost Ogre, which I'm not sure if it's still meta relevant right now, so take this with a grain of salt. You can always just play a different hand trap, of course. Imperm's always a great option. Now, Imperm is a fantastic hand trap because no matter what, it's always kind of relevant. There's only a couple of matchups where Imperm is bad, and that's going to be like Eldritch, Mystic Mine. I can't think of other decks off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's things where this is a bit more average. But because it has that zone lockout as well, if you do set it, it's pretty cool. So once again, I'd say Ash and Imperm are the more generic hand traps. If you just wanted to play 6, I'd say go with those ones, honestly. You can play Effect Veiler if you can't afford Imperm, that's fine. But we're not going to talk about Imperm for now. What we're talking about is Effect Veilers with Ghost Ogres and why we're playing them in combination with E-Telly. So E-Telly will summon out your Ghost Ogre, which is actually just an interruption straight up on the opponent's turn. So if you already have Rod Souls in your hand, you don't really need to play the E-Telly to extend. You're actually going to keep the E-Telly and set it for the opponent's turn and summon the Ghost Ogre on their turn, because you can actually use Ghost Ogre's effect from the field. And yeah, E-Telly does say it gets banished in the end phase. Hopefully you're going to use that Ghost Ogre effect on their turn and it's not just wasted, right? So opening E-Telly going first is kind of the same as opening Ghost Ogre. And look, if you have to use it to extend into a play, just do it, it's fine. But you can also use it as an interruption is what I'm bringing up. So I like that aspect of the engine. It's an extender plus a hand trap. Like, it's kind of the... And Effect Veiler's here because, well, one, it's a spellcaster, so it works really well with secrets. If you have DM somewhere, you can just quickly go into the Dark Magicians, right? In the battle phase, for example. Of the deck, it's a spellcaster, tuner. It's just light, but it's got a pretty good effect, so I don't mind Effect Veiler at all. The only thing is, it's kind of a worse version of Imperm once again, but it's a spellcaster, so, you know, there's pros and cons to both. Imperm's better because you can use it on your turn. Like, if your opponent has a Mecha Bow or DP or something on the field, you can just go Imperm on it and then start playing your turn. I like that about Imperm, because Imperm Ref used to be, as I said a lot, really broken. But anyway, enough about Imperm. Effect Veiler is mainly here because we are trying to summon Hulk using Ghost Ogre sometimes, and what Hulk wants to do is summon a tuner from the deck. The best tuner for Hulk to summon is Effect Veiler. Why? Well, because then from there, Hulk and Effect Veiler can go into Selene. She requires a spellcaster, and then just 2+ monsters, so Hulk will just be that 2 because it's a Link 2, and then from there you can climb up to your access code, or you can just infinitely use Selene's effect if you've got enough spells on the field and grave. Infinitely use Selene as a second copy of Eternal Soul, and just keep pumping out DM, pumping out your fusions if they're already in the bin. You can do crazy stuff like that. So Selene's actually a good card in this deck on her own. You're normally going to turn her into Access Code because Access Code is just phenomenal at finishing the game. Plus you can just pop your opponent's whole board, so you do love to see it. Of course, you can play Synchros scenarios as well. So here we've opened up E-Telly and Magician Souls. That means, of course, Ghost Ogre can come out. And as I said, you can use it on the opponent's turn and wait. But in this case, you'll realize that Dark Magician is a level 7. And normally that number is completely irrelevant, except if you want to overlay. But in this case, we have a level 3 tuner and a level 7 monster, which of course is going to make Baron de Fleur. So it's just a 2-card Baron. It's not the best thing ever, but the cool thing is if you have the Eternal Soul set, you can tag this out. After you negate something, the opponent's turn comes back to you. You can tag this out next turn for the Ghost Ogre. Bring the Ghost Ogre out, and then Eternal Soul back out Dark Magician, and then go into another Baron de Fleur. Because Baron de Fleur sends itself back to the extra deck to do that, so it's actually very cool that you can recycle the Baron. You'll only ever need to play one Baron, and I think that's really cool. Now, Baron's not as good as Dragoon, but it's a pretty good card, so, you know, you gotta play cards that are good. I know it's very expensive right now, but that's an option if you already have it. That's a cool thing you can go for. Alright, once again, we're going to E-Telly out the Ghost Ogre. This time, we're going to use Magician Souls just to summon itself, which is kind of what you want to do a majority of the time, I feel. Just because normally you have cards in your hand you want to send to draw, or you'll have Salvation up, so cool, you're going to go ahead and summon it, and then before you pass turn, you're just going to go ahead and make Herald. Now, Herald does have this great effect where any monster sent from hand or main deck to grave is banished instead, so people will be forced to either 1, go to battle phase early, and give up their battle phase, or 2, they'll play a spell trap monster effect, and you'll negate it, and that's pretty damn nice. Now, in either of those scenarios, you will have to tribute the Herald, and when Herald leaves the field, or when it hits the graveyard, I should say, it has this fantastic effect that allows you to search a ritual monster. I think you know the ritual monster we all want to search. It's your boy Illusion of Chaos. Now, you can play other rituals too, along with Herald, to make it search other things, but I think just being able to search Illusion of Chaos off this is pretty nice. It's a bit of follow-up. It's not the best, but it's not the worst, you know? It's cute. If you wanted to play another Sync 10, you could always play the Sovereign because it's actually very generic to make. It's got that nice effect where if it's destroyed by card effect, you can just banish a card from grave instead. And then if a card's banished, you know, you get to do the second effect, which is banish a card from both your opponent's field and grave, which is very nice. I think Fleur's a bit better, but it's another option, you know? This combo is cool, but it is a 3-card combo and it requires a lot of things to go right. If you do have an additional Eternal Soul, this gets better. We're not going to have it here in the example, but that's okay. We will deal with it. We are going to summon out the Dark Magician first of all, because we are going to be abusing the Bonds package a little bit here. But first, we're going to just go E-Telly because it won't stop triggering in my hand. So let's just get it out of the way. The Ghost Ogre will come out at some point. It's not too relevant. We're going to normal the Rod. Rod is going to grab us Bonds package. So you probably do Rod first just to see if you get ashed. Because if you get hand trapped on Rod, obviously you're going to want to change your line of play. So probably would be more wise to start with the Rod there. But that's okay. We're just demonstrating at this point. This isn't necessarily the perfect way to do it. It's more that I'm just showing you the steps in which you can do it. Now I've got a board full of dudes here. It's getting a bit confusing. This does play into Nibiru, by the way, so if they have Nibiru, well, big sad. We're going to make Artemis here, which is going to go into Hulk. Hulk is going to then summon out from the deck a copy of Ash Blossom. Fantastic. Now what we can do with that is sync our Dark Magician, I should say, into Baron de Fleur. Fantastic. We're going to pass turn. During the main phase of our opponent's turn, we are going to do a little bit of cheeky stuff. So we're going to try and use Hulk's effect to banish itself, and that's going to summon out for us the Tuner Synchron, our Formula Synchron, which is going to give us a cheeky draw, which is nice. It's a 3-card combo, and we're kind of going to fix our hand up a little bit too. That's always nice. From there, we're going to be able to Synchro on the opponent's turn, and we're going to use that Dark Magician girl to actually make another sync. Fantastic. So now we're going to use Boral Savage, and we're just going to equip that Artemis. And look, I know Artemis isn't the best link to equip to Boral Savage. It's just 1 negate and 400 attack, but it's better than nothing, and 2 negates is really nice for DM. If you do have the Eternal Soul here, or the Salvation Eternal Soul, this is where this gets nuts. I know 4-card combo, but think about it. If you flip Eternal Soul here, out comes Dark Magician from your graveyard and Dark Magician Girl. Suddenly your Dark Burning Magic is online. That's insane, right? A lot of nifty things you can do with this deck. It does rely heavily on not getting interrupted and whatnot, but pretty flashy, pretty cool synchro plays you can make just with a hand trap engine, so that's really cool. So the hand trap engine was just these Effect Veilers, Ghost Ogres, and Emergency Teleports, but I did just add in the Bonds package. So if you're unfamiliar with that, you're just going to need Dark Burning Magic along with Bond between Teacher and Student. That's it. They're pretty good. They can be rather bricky though. So once again, you get power in place of less consistency. So you got to take that gamble if you want it. I think with Prep and Illusion of Chaos, we are a lot more consistent than before. So I think taking these risks, if you're going to do them at any point, you do them now, right? But yeah, I'm pretty big fan of this engine. You can always cut them down to numbers like this, especially if you wanted to play, say, 3 skill drain or just fill the gaps with other stuff. Sure, you can cut down the engine a little bit if you want, but it's a really good engine because hand traps are always good, okay? Hand traps are always good. I think the biggest problem people have with hand traps is they don't know where to use them. Because a lot of the people I talk to in Dark Magician community, look, I don't want to say anything mean, but a lot of the more casual Dark Magician players, they don't like hand traps and they think they're trash. And I'm just like, are you sure you're doing them like in the right spot? Because like, you know, a good hand trap ends a turn in theory. So once again, just make sure you know your choke point. If you don't, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there where players actually teach you the deck's choke points and whatnots. And the other thing is just play a deck. Play Sword Soul and learn the worst spots to get hand trapped, and then you go, oh cool, now I know what to do when I verse it. That's the best way to learn how to beat a deck you hate. Meta deck, doesn't matter what the deck is, go and play it. Play it online, obviously don't buy it. Play it online, test it, and you'll go, damn, this deck actually sucks in this scenario, so now when I see this, I'll punish them. And you'll be a way better player because of that. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the Dark Magician Core and Engines video round 2. I hope you enjoyed this chat as well as the first one. If you haven't checked out that first one, please go check it out once again. It's really fun to make these vids, guys, and I love the conversations we get going in the comments. So please head down there and let's start a discussion again. A lot of people in the last comments were complaining that I was complaining a lot. It's like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, you want me to lie to you? Like, I'm not sure what they mean. Like, I'm not going to say something's good if it's bad, you know? I'm going to be honest. That's half of what my channel's about. I'm very honest about what cards I think are good in the deck and what cards I think are trash. If that, I don't know, did I strike a nerve with some of these people? I'm not sure, but if I did, I'm not intending to be offensive. I'm not intending to cause you malicious harm. All I'm doing is trying to guide everyone to the best of my ability on what's good and what's bad. Take away the fact that you like an archetype or a card, because that's bias. Let's take it away. And just look at it on paper. That's how I'm trying to give you this review of the Dark Magician cards. The ones I think are good, I'll tell you are good. The ones I think are trash, I'll tell you are trash. It's as simple as that. I don't think I'll have to clarify that ever again, but I thought, why not just one more time clarify that for those in the comments who are a little bit unsure or offended as to what I say. Anyway, have yourself a wonderful night. Don't forget to check out some of my other vids. I've got a whole bunch of Dark Magician stuff coming up. I am working on a deck. I know people want a deck profile. Guys, I cannot think of one. It's so hard to play this deck now. That's why I'm doing these vids, this experimentation. I'm talking to you guys. I'm trying to find out what I want to play, and you guys can help me, and we'll make this deck build awesome together. But anyway, I'll catch yous next time.